Space, the final frontier. This is the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Its mission to explore the solar system, to seek out new observations and data, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now the host of the Observer's Notebook, Tim Robertson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Observer's Notebook, the official podcast of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. Each episode, we share the latest discoveries, observing techniques, and stories from the people who explore the moon, planets, comets, and beyond. Whether you're looking through a backyard telescope or a leading professional research, we're all united under one sky. I'm Tim Robertson, your host. Thanks for being here. And now, if you normally listen to the podcast in your car or on your phone, do you know you can now watch it too? That's right, the Observer's Notebook is now available in video right here on the ALPO YouTube channel. And here's something interesting. Over 50% of the people watching or listening are not subscribed. So take a quick second, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell so you don't miss another episode. It's free, and it really helps grow the channel. This show is made possible by support from you, our listeners. If you want to keep it going, you can join the Patreon page for the Observer's Notebook at www.patreon.com/Observer's Notebook. For just $1 a month, you're supporting the show. For $5, you get early access to new episodes. For $10, you receive a copy of the Novice Observer's Handbook. And for $35 a month, you'll be listed as a producer on the podcast. And of course, you can find out more about the ALPO by going to www.alpo-astronomy.org, where you can join the organization for only $22 a year. All right, let's get started with this episode of the Observer's Notebook podcast. Enjoy. All right, welcome back to this edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. I'm your host, Tim Robertson, and today's guest is someone many of you may already know by name, even if you never heard him tell his story. Joining me is Bob Garfinkle, a longtime member of the Association of Lunar Planetary Observers and respected voice in amateur astronomer. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be interviewed here by Tim, and the longtime member. Yes, I go back into the mid to late 80s. I'm not sure exactly the start date, but I used to do looking at the sunspots and mailing in the reports to Rick Hill, and that was way back in the 80s.
Okay.
But my astronomy history actually goes back to the 1950s when we'd be coming home in the evening. My dad would point out and say, "Well, okay, what constellation is that? What constellation is that?" He in high school in the 1930s, he and some buddies took off to go up to Tacoma, Washington, to observe a solar eclipse. About 1932, 33, somewhere in that time period. So he was always interested in astronomy, got me interested. In fact, I got my uh, Boy Scout merit badge in astronomy in October of 1963. So
Oh,
it's been
my.
62 years. And I just always was interested. Although I tried to write a novel, I couldn't get it sold, couldn't get, no touch it. But in the meantime, I was doing book reviews for Astronomy Magazine. And one day Rick Barry said, "Why don't you put these together and let's make a book?" And so that's how Star Hopping, your visit to viewing the universe, came about. And I kept writing Star Hopping and doing book reviews. In 2004, I became the book review editor for ALPO, for the journal. Jose Oliveras wanted to step down
Mm-hmm.
and asked me to take over. I'd known Jose when he was the head of astronomy at the old Chabot and then became the new Chabot, Chabot Space and Science Center in Oakland. And so I've been doing that for, well, I guess 20 plus years now,
Yeah.
off and on. So in the meantime, I've always was interested in the moon. I was always trying to figure out what's this feature name for? Because the one I like to talk about is Alphonsus. I could never find anything with the name Alphonsus until finally it came across that it was for King Alfonso the Tenth back in the 1200s or so. He brought a bunch of scholars to Madrid, and they started translating all these Arabic manuscripts, which were generally translations of ancient Greek manuscripts. And so that got me started in what became Luna Cognita. That was back, I started writing that book in 1989. And in 91, my wife and family, my parents, we were on the Viking Serenade off of Baja California to see
Mm,
the solar eclipse, as Ed Krupp called it, the mother of all eclipses, because it was almost 7 minutes long.
yeah.
And I met Harrison Schmidt. He was the keynote speaker.
Oh, fantastic.
And I was talking to him after he gave a talk if he would write the introduction to what I thought was only going to be a nomenclature book. And he agreed. And then I met Perry Ramoklis a couple years later at Riverside Telescope Makers Conference. And we decided that he would publish my nomenclature book. Well, it was due in 1999, and it wasn't finished by 99. In fact, it kept growing and growing and growing, and after a couple of years, he said, nobody's interested in moon books anymore.
Oh,
And I didn't have the heart to tell him, any moon book that comes up on auction is snapped up
yeah.
real quick. So with that, I kept writing, figured, oh, someday I'll get another publisher. Oh, by the way, Star Hopping was published by Cambridge University Press, the largest press in the world. And that was through David Eicher, who just retired
Great.
recently in Astronomy Magazine.
I
Richard
just,
Berry turned me over to David as an editor, and David asked, do you have a publisher yet? And I said, no. He said, well, contact Simon Mitten at Cambridge University Press. And I did send them a proposal, and a few weeks later, I got this gold embossed letter saying, "Yeah, we'll publish your book."
fantastic. Now,
And then
your book, Star Hopping, helped,
that's my Star Hopping book.
it helped many beginners learn the sky.
Yeah.
What actually inspired you to write it?
Well, we were doing the star hopping articles for Astronomy Magazine because they were not doing star hopping articles, and my telescope didn't have setting circles on it. They worked.
Yeah.
They're on there, but they just don't.
Yeah.
They would move when you moved the telescope. So I learned to star hop to begin with my original little telescopes. And so the other thing was that they republished, the book came out in 94, and they republished it in 97 as both paperback and hardback.
Mhm.
And Simon told me, says they rarely, if ever, do that.
Wow.
So I'm in the company of Milton and Isaac Newton and such. They all published by Cambridge.
Oh, there you go.
So one of
Yeah.
the funny things was shortly after the book came out, excuse me, I lose my voice sometimes because of strokes that I've had. Cambridge took over publishing Stanford University Press, and I live in the East Bay, San Francisco Bay Area, so it's just across the bridge to go to Stanford. So they invited me over to a dinner they were having one night to announce that Cambridge was taking over publishing Stanford's medical books. Well, so I met what we call board of directors, they call a syndicate. So the head of the syndicate was there, and the head of the syndicate for Oxford was there, and they were going to introduce the guy from Oxford, and he said, "Well, the guy from the uh, junior university," and I thought he was talking about Stanford because Stanford's real name is Leland Stanford Junior University. It was named for the son, and well, it turns out Cambridge got their charter from Henry VIII in 1535
Oh
and
my.
Oxford in 1536. So they call them the junior and the younger university.
That's wild. Now, you've written for decades about astronomy.
Yep.
What what keeps you engaged with the hobby after all these years?
Well, I've just always enjoyed the night sky. Um, and I mean, there's so much to see. You can't see it all in a lifetime even if you were a professional astronomer. Um, but in particular, I was interested in the moon because I could lay in bed with my little 7 by 35 binoculars and see the moon. Even though I didn't know you weren't supposed to look through the window glass, open the window. But I could see the moon from my bedroom window in Alameda, and I grew up in Alameda, California.
Okay.
And my dad would take me up to Old Chabot sometimes on Friday night for their lectures or Saturday night. And Dr. Kingsley Reitman would give his talk, and we would be in the planet there. They had a small planetarium there. And by the time he was done, we'd go outside. 9 out of 10 times it'd be cloudy. Fog would roll in. The new Chabot Space and Science Center is a little higher elevation and doesn't get as foggy once in a while. Um, and so when we'd go camping, I'd be, hopefully, well, like one time I remember very vividly, we were taking a whitewater river raft, and it happened to be August 12th, which is the night of the Perseids, when it's the strongest. And I remember lying in my sleeping bag. We could see the sky because we were out in a meadow near the river and watching the meteors. And also in '99, I think it was, uh, I had to go to Kings Bay, Georgia on business. I used to write manuals for the Navy for their service. And you'd have to take your book in order to get it approved to one of the Navy bases. I was writing for submarines for Trident missiles, and they would run through the book to make sure that what you said how to take something apart was how that would be taken apart, what tools and
Okay.
such. And that happened to be the night of the Leonid storm, which was basically over Europe. But I remember I parked on a side embankment, and I was in a Mustang convertible, and so I could keep the engine running, so I had the heat around my feet until the fog rolled in, because we were right by the coast.
Uh,
So that's some things I do. Um, we stopped at there's a real dark site just, just north of the Grand Canyon.
okay.
There's unfortunately, it's probably been wiped out by a forest fire, but it was a primitive Forest Reserve camp, and you could look down at the opening of the Grand Canyon and look out over the painted desert, and the only lights you would see were these little hogans, scattered all over, and the lights from Flagstaff was blocked by San Francisco Peak.
Oh,
So it was really, really dark skies,
wow.
almost as dark as the night my wife and I went up to Mauna Kea when we were in Hawaii. And that now, for me, where I live, Scorpio passes directly over my back neighbor's home, by maybe when you look at it, a couple of feet or so.
Mhm.
But down in Hawaii, I couldn't find Antares. There's just so many stars. Finally, I noticed it because well, it's higher up in the sky, and so that was interesting. To try and find it. We were 10,000 feet there, and I'm also a member of the San Jose Astronomical Society
Hmm.
and the East Bay Astronomical Society. The British Astronomical Society, which just honored me with the Merlin Medal,
Congratulations. That's a
which
huge
is like
honor.
what you see the picture here is a Herschel telescope.
Right.
And when my wife and I went in December of last year, 2025, uh, we went into the Science Museum, and they have Carolyn Herschel's telescope there,
Oh,
along with a bunch of other stuff. So they gave me the award, and it says in the form here, in recognition of a notable contribution to the advancement of astronomy.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
So
Now,
yeah, I was nominated by two past presidents of the BAA, and I'm also a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society. I was nominated by a couple of gentlemen who are very prominent.
mm-hmm,
A lot of it is because of my writing. So I mentioned earlier I started Luna Cognita
mm-hmm.
in 1989.
That's a book
Yeah.
everybody must own.
Yep,
Should be
three
a requirement.
volumes,
Yes.
three volumes.
Yeah.
Um, and if you do buy it, please leave a review on Amazon, and hopefully you get all three volumes at the same time. Amazon has had a problem with sending out volume one to one person, volume two to another person, volume
uh,
three to a third person. And
no.
then the other, everybody's got to send it back to try and get the
Uh,
full set.
uh,
Um, and Charles Cook or Chuck Cook, from who writes for Sky and Telescope,
right.
is a friend of mine. We've communicated over the years. He told me that he got a hold of Amazon and wound up talking to some gal in India, and she said, "Well, the website is wrong." And she, even though it said on there, it was all three volumes for the same price. So they were sending out, even though they come to Amazon packaged in cellophane with a big tag that says "Don't break open." It's a
Uh,
full set. Amazon kept breaking them open. And
wow.
my editor at Springer says they do that to other authors too.
That's unfortunate. Wow.
So
Now
the
you,
problem is that people will then send in a one-star review complaining about the shipping, not complaining about the book. And people
right.
people who have given me five-star review, they're just marvelous. But the other thing I wanted to throw in, which I missed, was back in '96. I was kind of dying of the flu, and his package comes from Australia. And my wife said, "Now what'd you buy?"
Ah,
So it was an offer for me to co-author what became Advanced Skywatching, which is this follow-on volume to Skywatching, which David Levy is the primary author
hmm
of. So there were six of us who wrote that book. Will Terrian did the maps.
mm,
And so they gave me a list of the stars that they wanted me to hop to and the maps. So I'm communicating back and forth to Australia. This is the beginning of the internet connection um, with email and such. And we had like less than 6 months to write what we needed to write.
wow.
And all the reviews of the book that I've seen all praise the star hopping. So I did the Northern Sky, and the gentleman, Michael George from Tasmania, he did the Southern Sky.
Oh, nice.
So, because I've only seen the Southern Sky once
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
my wife and I and family went to Zimbabwe to see the solar eclipse in 2001.
Nice.
So we traveled down to there and spent a week driving around Zimbabwe after the eclipse. And Hale Bob, Mr. Hale was at the same location,
Oh,
and he had his 10-inch Schmidt Cassegrain
so,
and was trying to get it to work. The electricity is different down there, and his
uh,
inverter wasn't working right, and
uh,
all kinds of problems. Um, the thing is, what was interesting, we were at a orphanage, and the kids had never seen a tape recorder, and I have a tape recorder hanging on my tripod, and they were just fascinated. When I stopped it before the eclipse, they'd been talking, and I played it back, and it almost scared the hell out of them, hearing their own voices. So those are kind of things that we've enjoyed.
yeah.
We've been to several eclipses,
hmm
but I didn't go to the one last year,
Mm,
or I mean in 24. I was not feeling well.
yeah.
But we did see the eclipse in 17.
hmm
That would have been my dad's 100th birthday.
Oh my goodness.
So what I had on the table, I had a picture of my parents, and then I took a cheese grater and held it over the picture. So I've got all the
Ugh.
little half circles, So
Very
they were
cool.
there.
Wow. Now you've served as a book reviewer for the ALPO for many years.
Yep.
What do you look for when you're reviewing a book for the community?
Oh, that it explains whatever the subject happens to be.
Hmm.
Usually for the amateurs, not so deep technical stuff. Um, and of interest to people. Obviously, I stay with the solar system
Hmm.
because Alpo doesn't really is not really interested in deep sky stuff
Hmm.
generally. Because there's a section for Mercury and Venus and Jupiter and such. And so, in fact, I'm reviewing a book by Richard Schmoody, his book on I've got to sit here on Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which he
Okay.
actually wrote several years ago.
Right.
But even though it's very old and Pluto is now a non-planet, and he talks about it being a planet,
Hmm.
um, there's still a lot of good stuff
Right. There
in the
is.
books. Now, magazines generally like a book that's only been published recently,
Hmm.
but I've done reviews of books that are several years old because they're still relevant to our subjects, that we enjoy. And so those are the kind of things that I look for. Is it well written? If it's got a whole bunch of errors, that I'll point out. But
Yeah.
normally, I try to give good reviews to people.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not that I try to be cruel, or anything, but some reviews you read of a book and the reviewer just nitpicks the hell out of a book.
Hmm.
I look for the good stuff in it and review it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I do get behind because I'm so busy with. I'm still writing some more on Luna Cognita.
Good.
Maybe possible second edition what I'm looking at
Good.
because in particular, the appendix on the lunar mansions. I knew it wasn't complete when I published it, but I just had trouble finding the proper information. And now what I've rewritten is now gone from 20 pages to 40 pages because I've found a whole bunch of
Good.
new information that was not it was out there, but I just couldn't find it beforehand.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to cover the far side,
Oh,
even though it's not observable, I at least say, okay, here's crater X or whatever, and this is what it's named for. And I'm using the LRO images. I've made an atlas of the far side. Now, for the near side, I used the Nison's map,
okay.
hand-drawn map from the 1870s, and then updated the newer names in red and added them to it. Because this was one, it fits the pages, but two, it was just nicely drawn. He had incredible handwriting. I've seen his handwriting at the in the library of the RAS office. I've been there a couple times now, and the papers that they have of his, it's tiny, tiny print, and there's not a single error, cross out, whatever.
Wow.
It's just incredible. And it's as a mathematician, he goes on with long, you know, right, math symbols and whatnot,
Formulas and
formulas and such, and just incredible handwriting. And he was the drawing of the maps, his crater drawings and such are quite
hmm.
incredible. But I have a library here, which you can see behind me,
Oh yes.
some of the books, um, somewhere between 6 and 7,000 books here in the
Wow.
house.
Wow.
Because I write at night
Yeah.
generally. I've always been a night owl,
Okay.
and the libraries are closed. And the other thing is, if you're going to write astronomy books, Simon Minton told, and I'm a graduate of a history, I have a history degree,
Okay.
was don't rely on what the writers have written, especially if they're talking about mythology, because astronomers always seem to get it wrong. So he said, go to primary source. So I have a near full collection of the Loeb classics.
Oh my.
Um, you know, they're Greek on one side and then English. Oops, got
Okay.
something with numbers on it. That doesn't help you. Um, and English translation on the other.
Okay.
So I use the primary. I have quite a collection of that stuff, and just a lot of other books. One book I like to talk about is a book by Walter Goodacre, 1930s.
Okay.
He wrote on the moon, self-published. I was offered to purchase one for $400 back in the 90s. And I'd like to have the book, but the copy was all the signatures are falling out, and
Uh,
it was well used. They were not well made. Well, I mentioned that I had to go to Florida. I'm in Kings Bay to in '99, and so I stopped at an old bookstore in Jacksonville, and the guy that asked to be at Rare Books, there's a big bookstore. He says, "Well, why don't you try up in Jackal Island? There's a little bookstore up there, and see what you can find." So after work at Kings Bay, Jackal Island's about 20 miles farther north. And it used to be, back in the 1890s and such, a resort area for the very wealthy to get away from the humidity farther north and such. And they had their little house was what they had for their hospital, local hospital or infirmary. Well, it's now a bookstore. So I go in there and I ask the guy, I said, "Do you have any books on astronomy?" And he goes over and on the top shelf, he pulls down with a copy of Goodacre's book.
uh,
And when I cracked it, it cracked when snap, crackle, pop. Like when you get a new hardback, $50. I about broke my hand getting my
uh,
wallet out.
but you didn't look too excited, right?
He says these guys they left books. They would they're very extremely wealthy for their day.
Wow.
He says a lot of the books here in the store are books that these guys left over from 100 years earlier.
Wow.
So somebody probably marked the book $50 way back when, and so that's one of my rare finds. But
Nice.
I have come across my own book in bookstores, and
Oh,
uh,
that's kind of fun, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. So I've enjoyed doing all the astronomy. My wife goes. Now, my late daughter, we lost our youngest daughter about
I'm
six
sorry.
years ago. She used to go out and would push me out of the way to want to look through the telescope. But we would get up in the morning to see the shuttle come home
Mm.
because it would fly over the Bay Area.
Oh yeah.
And I have a vivid memory of the day that Columbia came
Mm.
apart because it was just starting to come apart when it went over the Bay Area. I
Uh,
saw some streaks coming from behind it. I said, that seems kind of
that's
strange.
yeah.
And then when it got over the hills into Pleasanton, Livermore, and then finally came apart when it went over Texas.
Hmm.
So I remember that, but I tried to explain to her the speed it was going at. I said, by the time you go back upstairs, it'll be landing in Florida,
Yeah.
you know. And so she enjoyed
Good.
uh, going with it. But the one of the you asked about things that we like to do
Hmm.
was that every year at Yosemite, they've just started again because Glacier Point was closed for the last
Hmm.
2 years. They allow astronomy club to do a start party.
Oh,
So we sign up earlier in the year. Each club gets a weekend, and we get free entrance to the park. Just camp out overnight up there
nice.
near Glacier, Bridalveil Falls,
Okay.
Bridalveil Campground, and then give a start party to show people. Well, one of them was a memorable day. I had my telescope set up and I aimed at Half Dome because you focus in on Half Dome and such. And I let people look through it, and the group of girls started giggling, and I go, "What the hell are they giggling at?" Well, there was a guy up on Half Dome, and he'd come around to the side, and he was urinating, and
No.
the girls he, he had no idea he was being watched.
Oh my gosh. Oh
So
my goodness.
one night was real clear,
Mm.
and I saw what looked like clouds rolling in. It turned out it was Andromeda. I could see, naked eye, just this
Oh wow.
so dark up there.
Wow.
Uh, because even the lights of the valley are, way
Yeah,
below you.
yeah, yeah.
And you look in the mountains, the cloud rest, which is I don't know if familiar it might be, is to the east of Half Dome. It's the sloping mountains there.
Mm.
And it was coming up over that. And I thought it was clouds coming in. It turned out it was, well, in a way, it's a cloud.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
us, they thought it was a cloud.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
So
Andromeda.
so
And so I've enjoyed the people that have been in the club.
mhm.
Um, and I'm also a member of the Fremont Peak
Oh,
Astronomical Association.
okay.
We have a 30-inch Newtonian on at Fremont State Park, which is about 50 miles south of San Jose.
Okay.
It's about 2,500 feet elevation. And so we're open to the public on the weekends. We show that's our whole thing. The state
Hmm.
allows us.
Hmm.
We have an observatory up there. We have pads for people to set up their telescope. Kathy and I would go up while the observatory was being built because a lot of the guys who were involved in building the observatory were members of San Jose
Hmm.
Astronomical, and I was a member there. My first actual article, you might say, other than a Starhop a book review, was in 1986. I wrote an article about the uh, opening of Fremont Peak Observatory. So that was my first
Yeah.
article in that respect. And so I've done book reviews for regular book reviews
Hmm.
for local newspaper. Haven't done much lately because it's been busy with everything else.
Right.
The other thing about my past, I might throw in, because in besides the writing and being a professional uh, senior technical writer, in 1984 I was elected to our local sanitary district board, and I served 5 years as president,
Mm.
and then moved over to the city council. Was elected there in 1989,
Hmm.
and served until 97. And I spent several months as the mayor because we lost our mayor in a recall.
Oh wow.
And I survived a recall a few months later by one vote.
Oh,
They tried, and then I was overwhelmingly reelected 3 months later.
oh,
So
good
go
for
figure. Yeah.
yeah. Congratulations on that. So,
So
are there observing projects or studies that you're excited about right now?
observing project, well, like what?
Yeah, some project that you're looking at or hearing about that you're excited about?
Well, the thing was on the news and seeing that Artemis 2 is about to launch.
Hmm.
I thought it was supposed to go this weekend, but
Right.
it got delayed again and again and again. It was actually supposed to have been launched several years ago. I keep up with that kind of stuff, but one of the problems that for me, and you hear my voice disappear every once in a while, is in 2014, I suffered a stroke. I was completely paralyzed on
Mm.
my left side. And my Schmidt-Cassegrain is too heavy now.
Ah,
I've gotten very weak on the left side in particular. So when I go up to Fremont Peak, I'll look through other people's telescopes. I don't take my own scope. I can't pick it up. It's just I'll probably donate it to somebody else. Same thing. I have an 1874 with Browning
mm.
reflector. Unfortunately, the guy that sold it to me gave me an 8-inch mirror, but it takes an 8.5 inch. So
Oh,
I've never really used it. I mean, everything is there on the finder scope, and I had a stand made for it because he said the stand that he had for it was all rotted out.
Mm.
So I had a company built a stand, and we've been to star parties. Used to do star parties with with San Jose would do school star parties, and I would take the scope. And one day we were the solar eclipse here, and I took my telescope over to the school, which is around the corner, and unfortunately it was clouded out. So I
Mm.
aimed the telescope at a house across the street so the kids could see. You can even read the name of the lock on the front door.
Oh my.
They were just fascinated by to see that.
Hmm.
And so I've kept busy in that respect. But it's mostly the writing. I'm also in the process right now of writing a major article about Lord Ross's um, experiments to measure the temperature of the moon back in starting in 1869,
Oh.
going back to the time of Pythagoras and Aristotle. People thought the moon was warm, thought it was cold. We went back and forth, and so I traced the history going back to the ancient Greeks up until um, Lord Ross, and we've been to Kath 3 years ago. Kathy and I went actually we went to Wales to begin
Mm.
with for a Royal Astronomical Society meeting, what they call a National Amateur meeting, Astronomy meeting in NAM, and they move it around the UK every year. But so we wanted to go in 2020 because that would be the 200th anniversary of
Mm.
the society, but unfortunately, COVID hit and
Mm.
everything got canceled. So this was the first time we had a chance to go. And then we went to cross the water to Dublin
Mm.
because I wanted to go see the Leviathan, the 6-foot telescope that Lord Rose built in 1845. So we rented a car. It's an hour and a half drive normally. It took us 6.5 hours because
Uh,
there were two major accidents on the motorway.
uh, uh,
And the navigators, well, if you get off here, you can bypass around the accident. And then the lady didn't know how to get us back out of town.
uh,
So it kept going back and forth the same street. So finally I found some people were walking, a husband and wife or whatever. And I said, well, they're local. Obviously they know how to get out of town. So I asked them, they said, well, you go up here, turn right, go through this roundabout, go straight to the next roundabout, back on the road.
yeah.
So we were half day late, but we got to see it and enjoyed very much seeing that and
Mm.
seeing where the 3-foot telescopes were had been located. There's nothing there now where the 3-foot telescopes were at.
Okay.
It's just grass near the Leviathan, and so I've been in touch with Allison Ross. She's the wife of the current Earl. And she's taken photographs for me, and we've talked about stuff. And when I went to the Science Museum, which I mentioned a little while ago, I wanted to see the 6-foot mirror. It's been there since 1914, but it wasn't on display. And when I would ask people there at the museum, they had no idea what I was even talking about. One guy said, "Oh, I think they sent it back to Burr Castle." So when I got home, I sent an email to Allison and said I couldn't find the mirror. And they said they sent it back. She wrote back and said, that'd be quite an undertaking because it weighs 4 tons.
Oh my God.
And she said, it's not here.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find out what happened to it because it's not on
Wow.
display, which is kind of disappointing for me because the main thing I wanted to see at the museum.
Oh yeah.
Um,
That'd be quite a thing.
yeah, well, it's a metal mirror, speculum,
Okay.
made in 1845. So We saw that, or I hope to have seen it, but we didn't. But she's been a big help, and so just need to get back writing on that.
Hmm.
Got delayed because of health issues last year.
Yeah.
Um,
So, what advice would you give someone just beginning to explore astronomy with a small telescope or binoculars?
well, you need to get various observing guides. There's Peterson's guides. There's Planispheres.
Hmm.
David Chandler's Planispheres are fairly cheap. Unfortunately, we lost a good astronomy shop, Orion, which
Hmm.
used to be down in San Jose,
Yep.
Cupertino area. They've gone out of business, and they had bought Meade,
Hmm.
and so Meade is no longer being made. Meade
Right.
telescope. To join a local astronomy club,
Good advice.
like with well, both San Jose and East Bay. They hold beginner classes or even advanced classes. San Jose, because Don Mockholtz was a member of San Jose when he developed his Messier
Right.
Marathon.
You did.
That's where I met Don,
Yeah.
and that's why in Star Hopping was the first book that included his marathon. Um, then later he published his own book, and
Hmm.
unfortunately Don passed away a couple of
Right.
years ago.
Yeah. He was on the podcast a few times.
Yeah, so San Jose still does an organized uh, Messier Marathon, basically in Don's honor. Then he moved up to Colfax near Sacramento
Hmm.
for a bunch of years. Then finally he moved to Arizona.
Right. Right. Right.
And
So you've been in this hobby a very long time.
my whole life,
Yeah.
basically.
So where we are right now, where do you see the future of organizations like the ALPO and amateur astronomy in general?
Well, it takes a lot of volunteer work. And would be nice if Alpo were to have, a headquarters. I know we've had a foundation trying to raise money. Um, like the British,
Hmm.
the Royal Astronomical Society has been in Burlington House since 1870s.
Hmm.
And the thing is, in the old days in Europe, your top level, your elites, they would build these big mansions. They were actually cut up into apartments because people would come and stay
Hmm.
for months at a time. So you had an apartment with, kitchen, living room, and the whole bit. Well, that's where the RAS is in now, is one of the apartments.
Hmm.
And upstairs used to be the BAA office, but they've now moved to their own separate place. The Society for the History of Astronomy
Hmm.
has their own headquarters and library. I'm also a member there. And they're going to be having a picnic at Burr Castle in June.
Oh.
So my wife and I, well, should we try? And health issues is going back in December was tough.
Hmm.
Uh, with my stroke and such, mobility is an issue. I walk around pretty good, but still, those are massive airports.
Hmm.
Um, when we landed in Frankfurt several years ago, I'd probably still be walking to
Ah.
get to the gate because they are just incredibly huge.
Yeah.
They would take you, you get sign up for assistance. They take you in a wheelchair and take you where you got to go. But they're just incredible. Because I remember when I was a kid and my grandmother would fly in to Oakland Airport, you got the little desk office where the ticket agents are. You go out the door and that's the gate right there. And there was a little metal fence and we would be in our Sunday best to wait for grandma to fly in on Western Airlines. You
Yeah.
think she would fly on. And now, you got to go through TSA and a
Right.
great
Right.
big, hundreds of terminals and ticket agents, and then I don't know how many gates. Uh, the airports are just so massive nowadays.
Yeah, they are.
So it's a little more difficult for us traveling. So I'm not going to make it to the picnic.
There you go.
Would be nice.
Well, Bob, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, you got more questions?
No, I'm pretty good. You filled in all the blanks of all my questions during this.
Because
This is
because
pretty easy for me.
you never want to give a microphone to a politician.
There you go. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
because I could talk for a long time if I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, the other thing is that when I was interviewed by a gentleman in Wales, when Luna Cognita first came
Mhm.
out, as you can see right here, oops, this is Bronco Billy, or this one's Jack London. With my Bronco Billy one. Uh, oh, here it is. In 1912, Bronco Billy, silent film, he was the first American film cowboy
Okay.
star. Um, he and a crew of about 50 people came out here to Niles. He'd been making films around the state and in Colorado. He wanted to film westerns for the S&A Film Company. The S&A comes from George Spohr and Bronco Billy Anderson. So instead of going an S and an A, I think I got my moon shirt on.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Um, they formed a word, S&A. And I've been on the board of the Niles S&A Silent Film Museum. It's been since 2010, I think, 10 or 11. For a while, I was membership chair and vice president.
Wow.
We are in a building built in 1913, one block from where the S&A Film Company was at. In January of 1915, Charlie Chaplin came to town. He'd been hired the previous year by S&A to make movies in Chicago, but he came out to Niles with the group. He made 5 films out here. The last one was The Tramp,
Mm.
which is his probably most famous work.
Hmm.
And out here he met Edna Purviance, who became his leading lady in about 37, we're not sure the exact number, 37 or 38 movies where they co-starred. She was about 19 years old. Charlie was about 25. She'd been a secretary in San Francisco, came out after an ad asking for people to come out and audition, and she didn't know how to act, which is what Charlie wanted. He
Mm.
wanted someone to be natural instead of the all the emotions of. She didn't know how to do that. Well, when she retired in 1924, he kept her on his payroll until she died in
Oh.
1950, in the late 1950s. That's the kind of guy Charlie was.
Hmm.
He was extremely wealthy because he was signed for SNA for a $10,000 bonus and $1,250 a week.
Hmm.
And that was in 1914 money.
Wow.
So at the same time, people like to point out Henry Ford was paying $5 a day for a 12-hour day, 6 days a week for $30. And Charlie was making $1,220 more.
Wow.
And when he left Niles and he wound up with Mutual, which is another film company, he got $100,000 bonus and $10,000 a week. That's the equivalent of like millions of dollars a week in today's money.
Yeah.
And he formed his own company, but we show silent films every Saturday night in a theater built in, like I say, 1913. It was a movie house in the back, a Nickelodeon, and 2 stores in the front and 2 apartments upstairs. And now we own the building now. Our former landlady gave it to us when she passed away.
Oh,
It was in her will. We knew that was going to happen. So in 2019, we acquired the building. but now we have to raise money to uh, restore the building because it's on a brick foundation, and we're very close to the Hayward Fault.
Oh,
So, which is not luckily, excuse me, has not been very active over the last century. But it's about 60 years late. They thought it was every 100 years or so it was erupting,
no, my.
and it hasn't moved since the 1860s. So we're hopeful in that. But we have we have roughly 17,000 films in our collection,
Wow.
and about 3,500 books on movies and such, and thousands of photographs and other material, magazines and such. So we get people from all over the world have come and seen us. We do have a website, NileFilmMuseum.org. I think that's our
Hmm.
website. I just have a bookmark, so I never don't
I hear you.
memorize things like that. Um, so people come from all over to see us. And we're in the process of trying to buy what's called a photo player. It's basically a player piano, but it has a separate cabinets with drums and whistles of all kinds,
Oh my goodness.
and so when the piano player, he can run two rolls, one after the other. And he's got all kinds of levers and pedals and buttons to make all kinds of sounds and whatnot to go along with the movie. So like there's a train, there's a whistle, it
Hmm.
sounds like a
Hmm.
steam whistle or drums and organ. They were manufactured in Berkeley by a company in Oakland. When silence came, when talkies came in, obviously they went out of business. So out of over 4,000 player pianos that they made, very few. In fact, the one we're buying is the only one of that particular style 15. So we've raised most of the money we need for it. We're getting close.
Well, that's good.
And so that'll make us more authentic silent film museum. And I got involved when I was getting my history degree. My professor was putting silent films together. And if I had, enough money that I could have stayed in school, I would have probably gotten a master's in, silent film making and such, because he was getting prints from Library of Congress and then making silent films. So that's what also keeps me
Wow. You
busy.
are you are a busy man, aren't you, Bob?
Yeah, well, I don't like the term so much, but people have said, he's a Renaissance man.
That word was going through my head too, so
Oh,
it really was. I was about to
yeah,
say it, but it's
yeah.
that's that's it's
I've
pretty
been
good
busy.
definition for what you're doing though.
Yeah, and the other thing, the family history. When you go to the grocery store and you see on the edge of the shelf where they used to put plastic numbers
Hmm.
for the price, and now it's paper tag with because they have to put how much per ounce or per pound or whatever the price is. Well, my grandfather, when he immigrated here from Poland in 1911 as an 11-year-old, I mean 19-year-old, he and his younger brothers started selling fruit around a cart in Alameda, and just before the start of World War One, they opened a grocery store. Well, the problem is they couldn't find men were all going off to war, so this was the start of self-service, where previously the wife would come in with a shopping list. She needed a pound of coffee and so much sugar, and a clerk would go and fill the bag, and so. Well, they started with prepackaged food, and the women would reach into the shelf and would knock off his price tag. He had a little piece of cardboard on the shelf, and they'd have to pick up the cardboard, put it back on. Well, what he came up with was a device where it would clamp on the shelf and swing down. So when they reached in, it would move out of the way and then swing back.
Hmm.
So it's clamp, swing. That's the name of the company he formed in 1920. Um, his first purchase other than his own store was Piggly Wiggly. Used to be out here. They're no longer here in
Right,
California.
right.
They're now in the East Coast area. But Safeway and then Lucky's and all the others. So my younger brother now runs the company. My
Wow.
dad owned it for a while. Now my younger brother runs it, and they still make the shelving material. Well, not they don't make the
That's
shelving material
fascinating.
anymore because companies now buy with the shelving with the strips on it. But you know, like the checkout lights that tell you
Hmm.
the checkers up. My grandfather invented those. I helped make the first ones.
Huh.
We worked out how to do it. And Ben, my younger brother, has come up with all kinds of stuff. So when you go to the grocery store, you'll see all kinds of stuff. And if you happen to look on it, it says Clamp Swing, either Alameda or it might say Oakland now more because they moved the company. That's been factory family business now, roughly 100 years now.
That's
So
fascinating. Wow.
yeah, my grandfather had a whole bunch of patents on this stuff. So. Um, we all, my brothers and cousins and such, we've all, when we were younger, would work. I would do stuff while watching TV, got paid by the box I put together and stuff like that. Child labor. We didn't have so much child labor, but that's how I was earning candy money.
Well, there you go.
Quarter
Yeah.
quarter an hour.
Wow.
So
That,
those are the things. Now, Kathy and I've been married. It'll be 54 years this year.
congratulations on
And
that.
we have another daughter who's will be 58, 59 this year. Yeah, I'm 20 years older than her.
Hmm.
And like I said, unfortunately, we lost the one daughter, but
Hmm.
I still have, but we have two grandkids, and I've
Good.
taken them to Fremont Peak for up there we have what we call Starbecue once a
Hmm.
year, and have a guest lecture. I've lectured several times up there,
Hmm.
and then they got to look through the 30-inch telescope and see the sky. I'm trying to get them interested, not as much as my dad's been able to crack the nut, but
Hmm.
because they're addicted to their cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Kids today. Well,
can't
Bob,
they?
this has
Yeah,
been,
Osriel, who's now 14, used to read all the time. As soon as she come in the door, she'd grab a book and be reading. Now she sits in the dark with her cell phone, so
wow.
you never know.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so
Bob, this has been great.
I enjoyed. Been a pleasure here.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
So when are you gonna broadcast this?
I'll send you a note when it goes live.
Okay,
So,
appreciate that.
all right.
And I've enjoyed it. Thank you for asking to do this.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. You take care.
All righty, guy. Take care of yourself. Okay, bye.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Observer's Notebook podcast. A big thank you to Bob Garfinkle for coming on and joining us today and sharing his insights on everything. Great job. Enjoyed chatting with him. If you enjoyed this episode, take a moment to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and share our podcast. It really helps reach more listeners. New episodes of the Observer's Notebook are released on the 1st and 15th of every month. So you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and right here on the ALPO YouTube channel. If you'd like to help support the podcast, you can do so through Patreon for as little as a few dollars a month, up to $35 a month, where you receive exclusive benefits, including one-year membership to the ALPO and producer credits right here on the show. You'll find links for Patreon and the ALPO in the show notes. I want to give out a special thank you to Steve Seedentop and Michael Moyer for their continued support of the Observer's Notebook. And if you'd like to reach me, you can email me anytime at tim.robertson@alpo-astronomy.org. Thanks for joining us today. You can join the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers today. It's just this easy. You can become a valuable member of this International Lunar and Planetary Astronomy Organization, founded in 1947 by Walter H. Haas. It's based upon the structure of the British Astronomical Association. You can join various lunar and planetary observing sections, contribute to our massive archive of observations. You'll have access to our extensive lunar and planetary gallery of over 20,000 photos and observations of the sun, the moon, comets, meteors, and the planets. You'll receive our quarterly publication, the Journal of the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers. You have the ability to join the ALPO training program, which will teach you the finer points of making planetary observations. You can attend our annual virtual conference, and you'll have access to the Observer's Notebook podcast. Membership begins at only $22 a year. The way to find us, just go to your Google and type in ALPO Astronomy, and you'll see this prompt come up. There's our association with our website, alpo-astronomy.org, and you'll come to our homepage. If you look at the top of the homepage, it says Join ALPO. Click on that, and you'll come to the sign-up screen. It gives you the information on the organization, and there's two ways to join. You can join by mail, where you'll download a membership form, or you can pay online using PayPal. This is the PayPal processing page. You just fill out a few information lines, and then you're given the chance to click PayPal and join the association. Welcome to the ALPO.